That's going to be a
June,
problem,
I don't know,
question.
Monday,
Then I guess the
June
question
something,
is, what
20
would
something,
try and reduce
22nd.
this as much as possible. Masks would go a long way toward that. Trying to create physical distance. Obviously, people shouldn't go if they're vulnerable, if they have any symptoms. After they go home, they should probably quarantine themselves because they've just been in a high-risk situation. But again, I don't think any public health people would think that this was a good idea. You can't say you can make it safe. You could try and make it as safe as you possibly can, but even then, there's definite risks here, Wolf.
Yeah, those 2 campaign staffers who attended the rally supposedly were wearing masks. 6 others were positive for coronavirus just in the hours before. They didn't attend the rally. 2 Secret Service agents also tested positive for coronavirus. 10 people altogether who were in Tulsa for that rally. Dr. Jha, just how bad do you expect things to get in some of these southern states that are seeing a dramatic spike right now? Should we take any comfort in the line that many of these cases are younger people in their 20s and 30s?
Yeah, well, so it's obviously, we know that younger people are less likely to get very sick and less likely to die from the virus. But the issue is that the more the virus spreads, those younger people have parents, they have grandparents, and they're going to go spend time with people and get them infected. So while we may see, kind of lower mortality rates, and obviously I hope we do, the more the virus spreads, the more everybody is vulnerable, the more everybody is at risk. So we've really got to find a way to curtail the virus spread and not take comfort in the fact that the initial cases are primarily in young people.
Yeah, and young people, Sanjay, just to be precise, they may be asymptomatic, they may have only minor symptoms, but as Dr. Jha points out, they are still contagious. They could pass along this coronavirus to those who have underlying health conditions, as well as their parents and their grandparents.
Yeah, absolutely. And you take a place like Florida, Wolf, and I mean, there is a more vulnerable population. A lot of people go down there to retire, so people are likely to be older, have pre-existing conditions, and you can, I think, predict pretty reliably as you see the numbers go up in Florida, which I'm very worried about. My parents live down in Florida. You can predict pretty reliably that hospitalizations are going to go up within a couple of weeks, and sadly, deaths will go up within a few weeks after that. I think there was a just report yesterday, Wolf, said 75% of the ICU beds in Florida are already occupied right now. So think about what happens as these numbers continue to go up, Wolf.
Yeah, it's so sad. It's so depressing to even think about it. All right, Sanjay, thanks very much. Dr. Jha, thanks to you as well. Just ahead, we'll have
same kind of success and could well provoke a tremendous backlash against the lawlessness.
I want to talk briefly about the campaign and what the fallout from this Tulsa campaign rally. Your take on that, kind of let the air out of the balloon a little bit for the Trump campaign, who really wanted to bounce off of this, but it is early.
It is early, and this is the kind of thing we've been getting in the age of Trump and his opponents. Is we get into these huge controversies over the smallest matters. The differences in the size of the crowd that attended the inauguration, the difference in the size of the crowd or who either attended or did not attend the rally in Tulsa, and so on. When you get down to it, Brett, that kind of stuff just doesn't really matter very much. I mean, in the end, this is going to be decided at the ballot box. And what's going to matter is, who comes out and votes and who doesn't. And of course, we all, I think, Brett, at least I certainly thought that crowd size was not a good measure of Trump's support in 2016. It turned out that perhaps it was, but I don't think that this rally in Tulsa really tells us very much in the middle of a pandemic.
All right, Brett, and by the way, happy birthday.
Oh, thanks, Brett. Don't ask me which one it was. Okay.
All right, I won't. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Stocks were up today. The Dow gained 153.5. The S&P 500 finished ahead 20. The Nasdaq jumped 110 today to a new record close. Up next, what the Dreamers have to say about the U.S. Supreme Court decision on DACA and President Trump's promise to try again. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 46 in Charlotte, where police say a shooting has left 3 people dead, 6 wounded.
With free shipping.
The deputy chief there says the shooting happened at an impromptu block.
Scattered clouds left over, some showers out in western portions of South Dakota, but I think most of us are going to be dry tonight. A couple little
Tree Direct to learn more. We've
There's now
reprehensible support. She just
in between this political race that's happening now. Let's bring in our panel. Charles Lane, opinion writer for the Washington Post, Molly Hemingway, senior editor at The Federalist, and Tom Bevan, Real Clear Politics co-founder and president. Molly, let me start with you. The campaign's also obviously pointing to TV ratings that were skyrocketing on this network, more than almost 8 million, 7.7 million, and online viewing. Should this matter? Britt Hume talked about it earlier. Should it factor in, and does it politically?
I think it does, and whether it was COVID or civil unrest or the curfew or media campaigning against the rally or hostile, tech companies working with that are controlled by hostile foreign governments, it's clear that this was lower than what the Trump campaign had hoped to see. But it's also true that even with these numbers, it's still at least 10 times what Joe Biden could draw for any such thing. And Joe Biden has very serious problems with enthusiasm that I think that should also be a part of this conversation. Even the worst poll for Donald Trump shows that he has a much better advantage on enthusiasm over Joe Biden. And I think what's interesting is we have had many months where it's like you could forget that there was an actual presidential campaign going on. And the Trump campaign knows they need to remind people that there is a campaign, that decisions have to be made, that people have to make choices. And so they're going to have some starts like this of rally events and get people, sort of force Joe Biden out onto the stage where he's been able to kind of lay low up until this point.
Tom, your thoughts on these numbers and what it means?
I'm going to disagree with Molly a little bit in the sense I don't think in the grand scheme of things this matters at all. I think Molly's right, though. I mean, the Trump campaign, look, to the extent that they focus on this and are spend all day defending it, is a missed opportunity. They need to make sure, they need to do two things. One, put out positive messaging about Trump's record, and two, put out negative messaging about Joe Biden and remind people that this is a choice. Because the more they can make it a choice as opposed to just a referendum on Trump, then the better off that they're going to be in the long run. So anytime that they're talking about anything else, whether it's the crowd size at the rally or the Bolton book or any of that stuff, it's a missed opportunity for Trump, I think.
All right, Chuck, I want to play another soundbite, the biggest soundbite that got the most attention and reaction to it. Take a listen. This is the testing one, I'm sorry.
You're going to find more people. You're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
It was a comment that he made in jest. It's a comment that he made in passing, specifically with regard to the media coverage. It is clear he was not joking. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. We're months out now from Donald Trump having said that everybody who wants a test can get one. That is obviously not true.
So, Chuck Lane, what do you think about that?
Well, what I think about that is that Tom Bevan keeps a great running tally on polling results, and they show that over 55% of the American people do not approve of the way the president is handling the coronavirus. And this performance in Tulsa is a good example why. Even if he's joking, it's not the sort of thing you joke about. This is a serious pandemic, obviously serious enough to deter people, or apparently to deter people from coming out to his rally. And he's treating it in this flippant, cavalier manner to include staging the rally without masks and so on in the first place. So, I think there's no sugarcoating this. The Trump campaign is coming off the rails a little bit. He can always recover. He's got plenty of time. The economy comes back. It's not over yet. But he's done a lot of things, particularly in the affect and the demeanor he projects around the coronavirus, that just don't inspire a lot of confidence. And this was a very good case of that.
All right, I want to change gears here because I think the president may be watching, because we have a tweet that just popped up about a story that we did about DACA and some of the kids that are involved there. At the end of that piece, Doug McElway said that there's an effort to try to get a comprehensive immigration reform, including full funding for a border wall, something that Republicans have been pushing for in his stand-up. This is the president. Could somebody please explain to reporter Doug McElway or Fox News that the border wall has long been under construction? The war is won. The Democrats have finally given in. In fact, I will be in Arizona tomorrow to celebrate the 212th plus mile of completion. Obviously, there's many miles to go there. Molly, your thoughts on that and the president pushing the wall and his trip to Arizona?
Well, it's just a reminder of what worked well for him in 2016. A lot of Republicans have claimed that they care about borders, that they care about border enforcement, and then when they come to office, they all seem to kind of squish out. Donald Trump took it so much further. You know, there's going to be a border wall. Mexico's going to pay for it and whatnot. I think voters expected maybe not such success on that level, but also for him not to squish out in the way that so many Republicans over the years have. But 2016 was effective because he had particular policy proposals and showed that he was willing to fight for them. He has some successes he can point to, but needs to remember that running against Joe Biden is not sufficient, that he needs to make an affirmative case for what he's going to accomplish in a second term. I think a lot of people are happy with what's been accomplished in the first term, but they'd like to see more.
Tom, we report on the wall and the progress, but obviously it's not everything that was promised at the beginning.
No, but look, again, I'm not sure everybody took Trump literally when he said that Mexico was going to pay for it, because they haven't. But the wall is being built, and he is delivering on that promise to I think, to Molly's point, to a big enough degree that I think it's a factor for his supporters. And it does, again, this is another example of a place where it will make a tremendous contrast with Joe Biden and his position on immigration and all of those related issues. And so I think Trump's right to continue to ramp that up because it'll...
That perhaps Berman, if there was a probe touching Giuliani, we know his former associates were indicted, that Berman was doing something potentially wrong there.
I don't know what he's pointing to that Berman's doing wrong. It wasn't Jeff Berman who was coming out and talking about the Giuliani investigation. It was others who were speculating that that's the reason why the Attorney General came in and made the move that he did. So I don't think there's anything there. And, you know, I'm not quite sure what we can take from what Mr. Giuliani says about anything these days.
Understood. And finally,
for the rest of us is that the judge also said there's basically no way to put the horse back into the barn, is I think the phrase that was used, and everyone will get the benefit of, for what it's worth, the things that John Bolton said in the book, which is a devastating account of how President Trump runs his office.
It is devastating indeed. Art Preet, thank you very much. A quick programming note for our viewers. The former
suggest that there's no there.
Well, certainly, look, by many accounts, John Durham is actively underway. What exactly he's doing is a lot of people are guessing, but it's kind of, you know, you had the Inspector General look at this and say that people acted appropriately. You've had Senate committee come out and did an extensive investigation, say no one did anything wrong, and what the Justice Department is going to go in and find that those others did not remains to be seen. But you do have to kind of wonder what the motive is. And, you know, Mr. Giuliani was talking a minute ago about Berman releasing details about the investigation of Giuliani, but frankly, if you really want to talk about those standards, you look at what the Attorney General has been saying about Durham's investigation and the suggestion about the indictment of, or the people who are, you know, very familiar, who are going to have a problem when this investigation concludes. So, you know, it's troubling.
Understood, and I know you pick your words carefully, so appreciate all the legal insights on this. David Kelly, former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Of a more fulfilling and active life, Dakota.
We innovate and create. We meet up and get to work.